TV, you are a little fuller, a little bit more thicker. Maybe the thickness may hinder you from, getting certain parts.
I know what you're saying.
What am I saying?
That I'm overweight,
You
basically.
are. You really are.
I'm cellulite Sally. Look at my huge badonky. Oh, and don't forget about me. I'm fat Betty. Who could have said that? Oh, yeah, it's Tina, that talking tummy.
You should choose more appropriate clothes or shed some pounds. I'm sorry.
Last time around, you definitely tried to watch what you were eating after you had Mason.
Yeah, last time around I went, overboard.
But at least you're losing weight.
Can you do this the healthy way?
Do it the healthy way, just do it faster.
Carl looks better than she does. If the body could just slim down 150 pounds, that would be good.
Then she'd be 30 pounds.
That would be better.
If my wife lets herself go after I have kids with her, if I'm going to tell her I'm out.
That's not too big, is it? Absolutely not. I think I'm gonna go for a little 10-mile jog.
You total binger. April, this is gonna go straight to your ass.
This is called a diet. Everyone start one today. When you skip a meal, your body feeds off its fat stores. If you skip enough, maybe your body will eat your ass.
What can I get here that has no sugar, no carbs, and is fat-free?
Water.
She needs to lose 5 to 10 pounds a head.
They're all fat. The entire room is fat. I'm fat. You're all fat.
I could just eat you guys up. If I ate.
Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels is a quote by Kate Moss from 2009 that was motivation for a lot of my dieting throughout the years. I'll never forget the first time I heard it and thought, wow, she is so right. Now, as an adult and a mother who is trying to instill positive body image in my own child, I cannot imagine following that quote anymore. Being an elder millennial, I grew up in a delusional time of diet culture and beauty standards. I mentioned some examples in my Abercrombie & Fitch deep dive, but in this video, I'll be showing more examples of the unhinged diet culture, in particular that of the 90s to the early 2000s, along with a few other things that I wanted to talk about. The reason why I want to bring attention to this is because a few years ago, I saw a little bit of a shift with, I guess you can say, kind of trying to bring back the heroin chic, and there is no reason to bring that standard back whatsoever. But without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. I don't know if you could see the glare on my glasses, so maybe I'll take my glasses off for now. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and get into this video because I have quite a number of things that I would like to talk about. This is more of a commentary piece, I guess you could say, as opposed to my recent deep dives and more researched videos. So anyway, let's get into it. If you've never heard the phrase heroin chic, it started to become popular again, I guess, about 2-ish years ago, I would say. But it was a popular look amongst a lot of people and models in the 90s. According to Wikipedia, heroin chic is a style popularized in the early 1990s fashion and characterized by pale skin, dark circles underneath the eyes, emaciated features, androgyny, and stringy hair, all traits associated with the abuse of heroin or other drugs. American supermodel Gia Karangi is remembered for being the originator of the trend. Heroin chic was partly a reaction against the healthy and vibrant look of leading 1980s models such as Cindy Crawford, Elle Macpherson, and Claudia Schiffer. A 1996 article in the LA Times stated that the fashion industry had a nihilistic vision of beauty that was reflective of drug addiction. Now, they mentioned Gia in that definition of what heroin chic is, and sadly she actually passed away at the age of 26 due to AIDS complications, and this was from using a contaminated needle through her abuse of heroin. She had become to be one of the first notable women to have died from the virus. By some within the modeling industry, she had been considered to be the first supermodel. In 2023, Harper's Bazaar ranked her 15th amongst the greatest supermodels. There's obviously way more to her story, and parts of her story are incredibly sad, but that can be a separate video all on its own. During the time in which heroin chic had started, the image surrounding heroin was changing. This was due to the price of it decreasing and the purity increasing. During the 1980s, specifically referencing the AIDS epidemic, the risk of injecting the drug with contaminated needles had increased significantly. However, due to the purity increasing, snorting the drug became more common, and thus the stigma surrounding the drug had allowed for a new market to emerge, and that was for the middle class and the wealthy. I'm sure there were those who glamorized the use of the drug, but taken from someone who has buried more than one friend due to heroin, it's anything but glamorous. The heroin chic look was emaciated, and it was exactly what Calvin Klein was looking for in 1993 when Kate Moss was hired for the Perfume Obsessions advertising campaign. Eventually, heroin chic would become a thing of the past. Well, that was until a few years ago, but it had gone out of style due to the heroin-related death of a very well-known fashion photographer by the name of David Sorrenti in 1997. The term heroin chic was actually coined by journalist Ingrid Sishi, who wrote after Sorrenti's wake, quote, "Heroin, this isn't chic. This has got to stop. This heroin chic," end quote. After his death, David Sorrenti's mother started a campaign against the use of heroin within the fashion industry. Then, in 1999, Vogue would go on to say that supermodel Gisele Bündchen was the return of the sexy model. I mean, Gisele was still thin, and her body would also set a lot of people up for failure when it came to beauty standards, but being heroin chic and looking emaciated was no longer being glamorized. With that said, this brings me to the next era of toxic diet culture and beauty standards, and that would be the 2000s. I'll never forget the early 2000s learning about the Barbie twins and actually watching a documentary. If I remember the name or if I remember to link it below, I will go ahead and do that. But in that documentary, they did talk about their struggles with their health and eating disorders. They had even mentioned their just absolutely insane workout routines and binging and purging, with the purging also being in the form of working out. That was the moment that I almost, I guess you could say, had a light bulb moment, or had a light bulb go off in my head, because I enjoyed working out, but I also enjoyed food. You can use your imagination as to what ended up happening to me specifically, but I still remember that documentary to this day, and realizing that they were trying to bring awareness to this horrible part of their lives. Meanwhile, I took it in a completely different way due to the standards at the time. All of the magazines were, and I guess you could actually say still are, obsessed with being thin or achieving a certain body type. And let's not forget that if someone changes too much, that's also an issue. The difference back in the 2000s is just how delusional it all was, and from my own experience, just how brainwashed I was. I mean, I grew up with America's Next Top Model. The only positive thing I remember was Tyra teaching the contestants how to smize. Editing Monica here. There is something I wanted to share in regards to the America's Next Top Model portion of this video, or the comment that I made. During the show, Tyra was pretty awful to the contestants, along with Janice Dickinson. Janice was worse in my opinion, but I'm focusing on Tyra for a reason. Now, in her prime, Tyra was a supermodel, for those of you who maybe don't know, and a gorgeous one at that. I really do think that Tyra was absolutely stunning. Anyway, Tyra would eventually get a taste of her own medicine a little while later, where a photo that paparazzi took of her in a bathing suit brought on some fat shaming, which I will say she wasn't even big in my opinion. Now, while I do think that her speech on her show was great, she never addressed the awful things that she said on Top Model. Fast forward to the most recent Victoria's Secret show, and she's curvier than some of the women she body shamed on the show. I know people change and opinions change, but my younger self who watched Top Model and actually stopped due to how awful it made me feel about my own body felt a sense of relief that now she might think twice about the things she said and how she has to live with the things that she said. Anyway, bit of a ramble. Let's roll all of the clips. I'll put time frames up on the screen while they're playing so you know what time and era that I'm referencing to.
I think for Robin, it must be hard being among girls who are so skinny.
Felt a little bit bad for Robin because she is the bigger up down here in the hips and thighs than the rest of us.
One problem that I do have with Robin, I think on the top she's not plus size and on the bottom she is. As far as I'm concerned about being a supermodel.
No, absolutely not. This girl should not be the first one.
Well, that's my humble.
Why?
Because I think next America's Top Model is not a plus size model.
Well, I like my skin.
And with your skin texture, being an African-American woman, it should be like butter. At the retouching session, your photo was the hardest that we had to do.
The color of your skin is so beautiful, but the texture of your skin needs a lot of work.
You had a photo shoot where we made you a different ethnicity. Sister, you look like a black girl, girl. You like my cousin.
Feeling. So being transformed into a proud African woman for me is definitely an exciting experience.
Oh, Danielle, you went to the dentist, but you refused to have your gap closed. Do you really think you can have a CoverGirl contract with the gap in your mouth?
Yeah, why not?
This is all people see. It's easy to reach beautiful CoverGirl. It's not marketable.
Yeah, just a little bit is okay, but I don't want to completely close it.
Well, I guess she just left the gap wide open for another girl, baby.
I agree.
Bottom line is that people are used to seeing me looking like this and all that. And everyone seems to be pretty okay with that. But for some reason, people have a serious problem when I look like that. All right? When I look like that. But luckily, I'm strong enough and I have a good support system. I mean, I love my mama. She has helped me to be a strong woman so I can overcome these kind of attacks. But if I had lower self-esteem, I would probably be starving myself right now. But that's exactly what is happening to other women all over this country. So I have something to say. To all of you that have something nasty to say about me or other women that are built like me, women that sometimes or all the time look like this, women whose names you know, women whose names you don't, women who've been picked on, women whose husbands put them down, women at work or girls in school. I have one thing to say to you. Kiss my fat ass.
While I was looking for all of these clips for this portion of the video, I did come across a video. The title of it is Tyra Banks Apologizes for America's Next Top Model Mistakes. But the reason why I wanted to kind of react to this is because she doesn't really apologize, in my opinion. I feel like she doesn't really apologize, at least in this clip. It just kind of seems as though she's trying to pass blame on somebody else or whatever the case may be. Now, she did say that she wrote a book, and in that book she did speak about certain things that happened on America's Next Top Model, and I didn't read the book, so I don't know if maybe she does apologize in the book. If any of you have read that book, let me know in the comment section below if she did in fact apologize. Let's go ahead and react to this apology. It almost reminds me of a YouTuber apology, but she just looks really gorgeous in this, and she's not wearing a gray hoodie and she's not pretend crying. So anyway, let's go ahead.
You combine it?
Yeah, private stuff. But
I was like, that's their own family thing.
I'm the godmama of the kids. I'm the godmama of the kids. They do something, but I'm not going to say what it is because it's private, but they combine. So that's why I get it confused sometimes. But no, he's Chinese American. His name is Ken Mok. And so it was our mission to be diverse and to push back when we were told that we couldn't be as diverse. So from people didn't even know what a plus size model was like 20 years ago. They're like, what is that? And even now when we look at what a plus size model is today, our girls were skinny. And even back then, designers, that my models back then would go on go-sees and the designer wouldn't even have clothes that fit them. So it was just being on the...
I'm going to pause here. I'm probably going to pause a lot throughout this clip because I don't want it to get copyrighted. I will say in this portion of the video, she is correct in a way because back then when this all started, because I lived through this whole entire era, I guess you could say. So I will say that back in the day, there really wasn't that much diversity within the modeling industry, even in media and shows and stuff like that, there was not as much diversity as there is today. And I remember Tyra and Naomi Campbell, I think they were the first women of color who were models, but I can't remember 100%, but those are the two that I remember growing up seeing all the time. When she's talking about the show, I will say that she is correct in that sense. There was a lot of diversity on the show, at least comparatively to the time period that the show was made. There were, the plus size, and it's just like she said, plus size models were not really a thing back then. There were plus size models, but nowhere near as much as today. And even today, the runway and everything like that, a lot of the couture and everything, yes, you're going to see very thin models. You're going to see the supermodel size. And there still is a certain type of industry standard, so to speak, to look a certain way to get better jobs and stuff like that.
Beginning of something and pushing through. At that same time, I was still a working model and still being told, oh, you're too fat, Tyra, you're too this, you're too that, you can't work if you can't do that. And hearing my friends have all this negativity and seeing what was in the way of them working. But I was still this like unique beauty crusader. I was also this person trying to get these models work. And I think at times they battled because I wanted them to get work, but even more important to me was being a beauty crusader. And so what ends up happening is that it's a clash, right?
What I will say is that yes, Tyra was considered, from what I remember, Tyra was considered to be more on the curvier side of supermodels than I guess you could say the industry standard size, at least at the time. Now, if you look at the clips that I shared before of her on the runway, now she would be considered a normal size supermodel, I think. But back then, yes, there was an industry standard, and she kind of pushed that industry standard a little bit. And I do think that she's correct in saying that she was kind of a beauty crusader. I think she had good intentions at one point, but if you watch the clips back of America's Next Top Model, I don't remember them being as bad as they are me watching them today. I actually stopped watching America's Next Top Model because of how horrible it made me feel about my own body. And I had already grown up with eating disorders and body dysmorphia. So for me to watch that and to see the things that she was saying, I'll never forget, there was one clip of her telling a girl, what was her name? Danny Evans, or Evan, I think was her name. And she had a gap in between her two front teeth. She refused to I guess, fix it in Tyra Banks's eyes, and they did say something about it.
So Danielle, you went to the dentist, but you refused to have your gap closed. Do you really think you can have a CoverGirl contract with the gap in your mouth?
Yeah, why not?
This is all people see. It's Easy Reads Beautiful CoverGirl. It's not marketable.
Yeah, just a little bit is okay, but I don't want to completely close it.
Well, I guess she just left the gap wide open for another girl, baby.
I agree.
And watching that clip, because I had the same gap in between my teeth, I had been bullied relentlessly my entire life, to the point where I did get braces because I was not strong enough to say, you know what, this is unique. It makes me unique and it makes me look different. So I ended up, I did fix my teeth, and watching Danny stand up to Tyra Banks and say no, that to me was, that was just like a turning point of, wow, she is so confident in her own skin that she just stood up to Tyra Banks out of all people. But I feel like in this part of the apology, it's almost as if, in my opinion, of course, it's almost as if she's trying to pass the blame onto other people. Now, I understand that was a different time period, yes, but you also have free will. So it's just like if we want to go back to me talking about the gap in between my teeth. I chose to fix that gap in between my teeth. Yes, I was bullied relentlessly for it, but I could have easily put my foot down and said, no, I like the way I look. Because at one point, I was very happy with the way that I looked. But then it was just an over and over again thing. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get my teeth fixed because... And I still have gaps in between my teeth. So, and I still get made fun of for it. There's a comment, I'll never forget it. It was on one of my videos. Someone had actually brought it up. And it doesn't bother me now. Now it does not bother me. But I feel like in this portion, she's just kind of pushing the blame onto other people, and it just, I don't know, like Tyra, yes, Tyra was a victim to the modeling industry and the industry standards and society beauty standards, and it was definitely much harder for her being a woman of color within that industry because there wasn't that many women who looked like her. There was Naomi Campbell, and if I'm forgetting somebody, I'm so sorry, but like I said in the beginning of this, those were the two women of color that I remember seeing all the time on the runway. So I feel like in this portion, she's kind of pushing the blame onto other people. And at the end of the day, this was your show. You are a supermodel. You have a voice for people who don't have a voice. You could have been that voice saying, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. This industry sucks, and I'm going to change it.
Saying, oh, I want all these unique beauties, but you need to change that, and you need to change that, because I have these agents in the background saying, yeah, you want us to sign these girls, but she needs to change this, and she needs to change that, and that's how she's going to work. And I wrote a book with my mom, and in the book, I talk about that. I talk about some of the things on Top Model that in hindsight, and this is way before any of this stuff trended recently. This is a couple years ago. I was like, in hindsight, I should have still been that beauty crusader that is my heart and soul and why I started the show, to the millions of people that are watching the show, and then let the agents handle behind the scenes if that model wanted to fix teeth or whatever it is that they said that they needed to fix in order to work in this industry.
I forgot that she actually brought this up in this apology because I watched this super late last night. I am going to leave the link to this whole interview in the description box below because some of you might be getting annoyed at all of the cuts. So if you want to watch it in its entirety, I will leave it below. Yeah, so right there, she said exactly what I just said, that she should have been a beauty crusader that she was trying to be. And it's just like I said, she was a supermodel. This was her show. She was the voice, or could have been the voice, for women who didn't have one. And if you watch the clip of her talking on her show, she did just that. And she told them to kiss her ass. But for some reason on this show, she couldn't do that.
Industry. And so that was like my big lesson, and I didn't need social media to tell me that. I realized that on my own and did a whole section of my book about that. There's another thing that we did, I think that was a big like whackness that I didn't see back in the day was we did a season in Hawaii. And Barack Obama had just won the presidency. Everybody was so proud about that. We learned, the Hawaiians, when we were there, a lot of them were saying that, talking about Hapa. And I was like, what is Hapa? They're like, oh, Barack Obama's Hapa. Means he's mixed race. And then we're like, oh, maybe we should do a Hapa episode to explain what that is.
I'm going to pause it because probably my facial expression. Yeah, so she's about to talk about something that's really, just prepare yourselves for it. If you've never watched, I remember this season because I remember someone that I knew talking about it, and I was like, wait, what? What did they do? Let's get into it.
So we had the models play mixed race. We had them play half Madagascar, half, I don't remember what the races were, and the mixes and the races. And because I'm a woman of color, I thought I was celebrating skin color to say, this is beautiful. The industry and everything is telling you that a bleaching cream is what you should do. Lighter is best, all this type of stuff, you know, and me even knowing that me being a lighter skinned Black person has allowed me to do a lot of the things and burst open the doors because of my skin color and because of my green eyes and all that. I was like, you know, I'm going to show the world that color is beautiful and we're going to paint these models. When that episode aired, I don't know, was it 10 years ago? There was a backlash saying, what are you guys doing? Painting these girls Black, painting them brown, painting them. And I was like, oh my gosh. Back then, I was like, I think my skin is beautiful. I think all this is beautiful. And coming from a Black person, it's obviously not racist because I am saying that this is beautiful and paying homage. However, the mistake was that if somebody that has malintent sees me doing that, they'll think that their malintent way of darkening skin is okay. And so I was like, oh my God, it was like a awakening for me. And I had a talk show, like y'all have y'all show like this. Back in the day, I had a talk show and I did a whole segment on it and said, whoa, as much as I was trying to be woke and say my skin is beautiful and I'm gonna paint people like my skin and darker skin and all this and show all these different races, it gives an excuse for people that have malintent. And so we apologize for.
So basically what she's saying is they did blackface on the show. What she could have done if she really wanted to celebrate different races and ethnicities, if she really wanted to do that, why didn't you bring models on that represented what you were looking for? Whether she had bad intentions or not, I feel like she's not really apologizing here. She's just kind of shifting the blame, and she's kind of, I don't know if I would consider it making herself a victim or what she's trying to do here, deflecting. I don't know, but she's not apologizing. She should just own up to it, take responsibility for it, say I'm sorry, and say, you know, I wish that if I could go back, I would do things differently and everything of that nature. She's really not apologizing here. I also think that the interviewers here didn't really ask the right questions. I feel as though they should have had more aggressive people interviewing her, because this is Tyra Banks. Okay, so I get it. Like, it can be intimidating and everything, but they should have had someone who would stop her and say, well, but what about? Or what about this? What about that? Why are you trying to push the blame on? Like, they should have had somebody there who would kind of put her in her place a little bit and maybe have her take responsibility for her actions. But anyway, okay, let's keep going.
Apologize for that. Now, everybody didn't see the damn Tyra show. So 10 years later, you know, during COVID-19, people are quarantined and they're watching Top Model and they're seeing all these mistakes and things that we made. And so I think it is my job to not be mad at a younger generation that didn't see it. It is my job to apologize again, because they didn't see it, right? They didn't see me do that. And so I have to continue to apologize. 10 years from now, there's gonna be a whole nother generation and there'll be some other reason. They'll be snowed in one day and watching Top Model. What the hell did she do? This 50-something-year-old woman, da, da, da. I have to apologize again because they didn't see this and what I'm doing now and what I've done, you know, over the years. So that's just the state of the world now, that, you know, that people see content over and over again and they don't know that you've apologized. And I don't fault them for that. That's not their fault, but it's my job.
Here's the thing though, you haven't, from what I've seen, again, I didn't read the book, so I don't know what's in the book, but just by going off of this clip alone, she didn't really apologize. She's just kind of shifting the blame and kind of talking in circles about this. Just own up to it, take responsibility for it. And I kind of understand growing up in that time period. I get that it was a different time. Things were seen differently. I mean, just going through this video, editing these clips, looking at all of these celebrities now with fresh eyes and seeing just how delusional we all were back then, and thinking that these celebrities were big by any means, and they were not. I get her saying like it was a different time period, it was a different era, and we've kind of evolved from that. I understand that, but people don't want to hear excuses. They just want to hear you apologize, because if you watch some of these clips, and now Janice Dickinson was no better, okay? I think Janice Dickinson was actually worse than Tyra, but at the same time, Janice Dickinson was very just blunt to the point, whereas I feel like Tyra kind of came off as like the nicer of the two, but she still said awful things. So I think Janice Dickinson should also apologize, but she's not really going to apologize because it's kind of like her thing to be like that, if that makes sense.
To say, yes, I've apologized for it, and we're going to apologize again and keep apologizing because it was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, it's a great thing that you are able to say, listen, I didn't have bad intentions, because a lot of the times when people offend somebody, they don't have that, evil intention in their brain.
Yes.
It just happens and you make a mistake. And I think something that we need to do is normalize growing from a mistake. I feel like in this day and age, everyone's like, cancel that person. And it's like, well, if we cancel everybody, then nobody's going to exist anymore, because
we all make mistakes.
All make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. And I think what's with the mistake, I think it's important to understand
when it comes to the whole cancel culture thing, I've made a video about this before. This was probably like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not someone who jumps on the let's cancel them bandwagon. Certain things are very bad, yes. So I will say that certain things are definitely warranted. But I think that it can be kind of like a slippery slope when it comes to this, because for the younger generations who are growing up right now, sometimes the context can be missing. So with America's Next Top Model, again, not making excuses or justifying this for Tyra, but back then it was a different time. It definitely was. And certain sizes, I know that I keep bringing that up, but certain sizes were just deemed not beautiful, not pretty, and things of that nature. So for a lot of people who are my age, I know a lot of people who grew up watching the same things, seeing the same things, and also having the same opinions that I have. Now, there are some people who just didn't pay attention to it, and I wish that I could have been one of those people. I really do. You can only say that that time period was different to a point. You eventually do have to take accountability for your actions and say, you know what? Yeah, that was really messed up. There are things in my past that I've done and probably said that I would do differently now. And especially just being so much older and wiser. But I will say that the whole cancel culture thing, I think it's gone a step too far with certain things, because canceling someone over the dumbest things is just, there are certain things that are warranted, but other things, it's just like, okay, come on. Like that's a bit ridiculous at this point. I will say that cancel culture kind of has become a beast of its own, but Tyra, just take accountability, because the show really was bad. There's so many women that I know that watched it and say the same thing. It gave them insecurities. That's why I actually stopped watching it, was because of that.
To understand the intention. I think intention is everything. And so when you create a dialogue, and like, I love open dialogue for that person to say, well, why did you do that? And so if I explain and say, I think this is beautiful, and that's why I was doing it, celebrating it, not understanding that it opens the door for negativity. Now, if you think my intention was to make it negative and make it bad and to harken back to blackface back in the day, that was not my intention. My intention was probably the exact same intention that you have. I just went about it in a way that was a little ignorant. And ignorant means lack of knowledge, right? And so I think, the dialogue is super important. I remember I was starting to watch Top Model with my mom this cycle, and I was turned off myself. Season 1. And I couldn't even remember that we did this, because I've evolved even inside of Top Model over the years, right? So season 1, we had a weights and measures section of the show where the girls' height were measured and weight was measured. It is normal in the modeling industry. That's what is done. So we were trying to be as realistic in the modeling industry, not trying to embarrass anybody. It's just what is done. So we're pulling back the curtain. Back in the day, nobody complained about it. But as we all evolve, 20 years later, people are like, what the hell? Including me, including the creator of the show. I looked at it and I was like, it just made me sick. And so, dialogue is really, really important to understand. I'm disgusted by it too,
So at this point in the interview, towards the end of it, is when she kind of takes a little more responsibility than in the beginning, because in the beginning, it did seem like she was more so passing blame onto other people, and that doesn't help anybody. It really doesn't. Anyway, let's finish.
So we evolved together, I think. And it's crazy. One of the crazy things I find really ironic is that Top Model for this generation was the catalyst for a lot of the beauty diversity that we see today. We were on the forefront of all of that stuff, of what we're seeing today happen. But at the same time, the godmother, not me, but the show was not perfect. And we messed up. I can count probably 5 times where it's like, what the hell was that? What the hell?
Yeah. Only 5 times, Tyra. I can count 5 times in like one episode. But so yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that to light because towards the end, she did kind of start taking accountability, but I don't know. I feel like it was a half-assed apology. It was one of those YouTuber apologies. And I'm not saying cancel Tyra over the show, because she has to live with the constant criticism from people now. And she has to live with talking about it because she had to talk about it. And I'm sure if people bring her on shows again, she's going to have to talk about it again. And I think that that's something that she just has to live with now. And how she was saying, like, she watched America's Next Top Model back and she was thinking the same thing, like, what the hell was I thinking? And I think that we as people, yes, we can grow and evolve. I know that I have, and I mean, just by remembering myself from this era, yeah, I have definitely grown and evolved a lot. And even society has changed because we're definitely more diverse than we were 20 years ago. Let's get back into finishing up with the 2000s. In my Abercrombie & Fitch deep dive, I had mentioned 2 specific examples of unhinged body shaming that happened in the 2000s that stood out in my mind when it comes to toxic diet culture. And that was Nicole Richie and Jessica Simpson.
On TV, you are a little fuller, a little bit more thicker. Maybe the thickness may hinder you from, getting certain parts.
There are so many more examples of what happened back then. Renee Zellweger had to gain weight for Bridget Jones's Diary, and for whatever reason, I believed that she was big in that movie, which nowhere is she, but that's what I was made to believe due to just what the beauty standards were at the time. Then there was Howard Stern asking Anna Nicole Smith how much she weighs, along with Victoria Beckham being asked to stand on a scale.
I'll repeat what I said earlier, that the way you dress and stuff, I don't think you're aware that you're a heavy-set woman. That's what I said.
I know I'm a big woman, so what?
So I was guessing your weight. And I was going to say to you today, can you please get on the scale, and then we'll have an over-under. That's all.
No.
Why not? Why not?
I'm not going to get on the scale if you got to weigh me.
If you get on the scale, I'm serious.
Why would you want me to get on the scale?
I'll tell you why.
So you could humiliate me?
No, that's not humiliating. I think you should be proud of what you weigh.
I don't think any woman really wants to get on the scale and broadcast it to...
Why are women, when Anna Nicole is so liberated, why is Anna Nicole embarrassed to say how much she weighs?
Because I'm not going to do that. All I'm hear is pop jokes from you.
What?
All I hear is more jokes and more slander.
No, not slander.
From you.
I'm not going to slander you.
Stupid.
I want to prove. I will put $1,000 in your the college fund for your child.
I'll tell you what, Howard.
Is your weight back to normal?
Yeah, it is.
Can I check? Do you mind?
Oh no, you did this to Jerry, didn't you?
Come on.
No, but Jerry was like really small.
Yeah, but it's all right.
This is horrible.
She only got to number 2. It's all right.
No. Let's not forget Britney's MTV performance. You might know which one I'm talking about, but it's when she performed Gimme More in 2007. It was months after her incident that we all know of, and it was her first performance within 3 years, postpartum, might I add. But I'll never forget the magazines and tabloids pointing out how big she supposedly was. What I will say, though, is that Britney Spears performance wasn't her normal performance, because I'm assuming that a lot of us can actually agree that Britney Spears, especially in her prime, was quite the performer and the entertainer. You can just see that she truly enjoyed doing that. So I will say that performance wasn't her best performance, but she also wasn't big in that performance by any means. And I don't know if it's because I'm looking back on it now and I'm much older. I'm also a mom. I've seen beauty standards and things like that change over the years. And I don't know if it's that, and that's why I'm able to kind of see it from almost like an outsider's perspective. But I just can't believe that I was made to believe that was big. I keep saying made to believe, and I know that I have my own free will. I understand that, so I can think however I want. but just the way that society was, the way that beauty standards were at the time, that is what was considered to be larger. And I mean, if I could have looked that great postpartum, girl, like I wish that I could have looked that great postpartum. Anyway, Britney fell victim to all of the just unhinged commentary regarding this performance and regarding her weight. Editing Monica here. So I was watching the video that I currently have playing on the screen. The top left is a rehearsal, then the one next to it is what I would consider a dress rehearsal, and then the bottom right is the actual 2007 performance. Notice how she looks slightly bigger in the live performance? Well, I thought maybe it was her hair during dress rehearsal was up, so maybe that helped accentuate her smaller figure. But no, even with that, the body overall looked to be a bigger size. My husband just so happened to come into the room while I was watching the clip and editing and everything, and I had mentioned what I just said to him. He had asked me if it was around 2006 or 2007, and I said yes, but how would you know that? Because Britney Spears is not an artist that I know you like or listen to or anything. And he mentioned that while he doesn't have proof of what I'm about to say, well, his theory, and he obviously can't confirm any of it, his theory was that this was around the time that we were switching from square to rectangle TVs. So the aspect ratios from 4:3 to 16:9. I'm not a techie, so I don't know the correct way to say those ratios, but my husband said that maybe when they broadcasted it or something like that, that it could have been distorted, and maybe that's what made Britney appear to be bigger than she actually was. I know this is a huge ramble, but I feel like MTV really did Britney Spears dirty during that performance, especially because even though the live performance, she does not look big at all. I mean, in hindsight, me looking back on it now, she does not look big whatsoever. But compared to the other rehearsals and everything, she does not look the same size at all. But anyway, back to the video. If you've been around for a bit, you may have seen my Olsen twin deep dive, and in there I also shared a clip of Oprah asking about their size, which I think was just absolutely out of line, completely out of line.
I know there's a new rumor that's recently surfaced, has really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating.
Yeah, you know, people are going to write what they want to write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just kind of comes with the territory. You know, either you're too fat, you're too skinny, and people are just going to write what they
What size are you, by the way?
Size?
Yeah, I always
I'm
like to know.
really short.
You're not sure?
Girls, and
Oh,
you know.
that's so interesting. That is so interesting. I'm like obsessed with size, and you're like, I really don't know.
And then for some reason, I don't know if this is just me or if this is more people that are my age or maybe even a little bit younger who remember this, but I, for some reason, remember when Christina Aguilera came out with her Stripped album, and I thought, wow, she looks curvier and she gained a little bit of weight. I feel more represented. But in reality, she was still very thin, and looking back on it now, I was absolutely delusional. Just from all of these interviews and the tabloids talking so badly about these celebrities, I felt so uncomfortable in my body that I cannot, and I really need to emphasize, I cannot imagine what these celebrities felt. I do know that being a celebrity, this kind of stuff, along with criticism, it kind of comes with the territory, and you really need to have thick skin. But they're being scrutinized by the entire world, and every single little thing that they do is being nitpicked. I could never be a celebrity because while I may have thick skin, especially for YouTube and stuff like that, but I don't think that I could go through what these celebrities go through all the time. The media was and still is so awful to so many celebrities that I watched and still watch. Even to this day, we haven't been able to get away from beauty standards and just learn to love our own individual selves. There is more of a shift in that direction. There are more people that are accepting of themselves and their bodies and everything of that nature, but we still haven't gotten away from it 100%. And in my own opinion, I don't think that we ever will. The mind-blowing part about all these beauty standards and everything is that it changes so much too. And I think that this is due to social media and just kind of how everything in general changes. I mean, you see different aesthetics. You see the clean girl aesthetic, the Pilates, the pink Pilates princess or whatever aesthetic, the mom wife aesthetic, and it just keeps going on, and there's constantly something new coming out. So I think that with the rise of social media and just how much social media plays in our lives, I think that that also kind of plays into how fast everything changes when it comes to beauty standards and things of that nature. There was a video that I was watching recently by Stephanie Lang called Girl, Stop Fighting Your Face. And in that video, she showed these two women who were twins and what they looked like before and after. In their before picture, they looked like they belonged in a painting because they looked exactly like the women in the paintings. But then they changed their entire look to look more like an Instagram baddie. Now, don't get me wrong, they look great in both their before and after, but in their after, they, in my opinion, of course, look just like everybody else. I don't think that we will ever get away from these beauty standards, but as social media has evolved, I have seen too many women fall victim to what they think they should look like, then they get the surgery, and then they just look like everybody else. I'm all for feeling confident and doing what you think you should do for your body, and who am I to say what someone should or shouldn't do when it comes to plastic surgery or injectables? But a lot of women look exactly the same to me, and after all of their plastic surgeries, there is no portion of their face that even remotely looks like their old self. And a perfect example is of the one that I just talked about with the Stephanie Lang video, because it shows before, and the before was actually the beauty standard that you saw in all of these beautiful paintings, and that's what they looked like. But now, because the beauty standard is so different, they completely changed everything about themselves, and there's really, I can't see any resemblance of who they used to be in their new faces. And again, who am I to say what makes somebody confident or comfortable or whatever? Maybe it is an age thing. Maybe I've gotten to a point in my life where I see this and I actually feel really sad for these people who are running after these beauty standards, who are changing every little single thing about themselves. And the sad part is that because people do get addicted to plastic surgery and injectables and stuff like that, at one point, when is enough enough? And I almost wonder, is it ever enough for these people? That's why it's so sad to me. Again, I'm all for you do what you want with your body and everything like that, but at one point you have to stop and look at yourself and really try to be happy with yourself. And if your appearance or if something about you isn't, if you're not happy, I guess you could say, then you need to do some internal work, and you need to really work on yourself, and you need to start learning how to love yourself. I know that I kind of sound like I'm preaching here, and I'm sure that I sound very hypocritical and very contradictory throughout this entire video, because I shouldn't be giving my opinion, but I am giving my opinion. I don't care what you do, but at the same time, I get it. I get that I kind of sound a little back and forth in this video, but these are just my opinions, and I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a commentary piece as opposed to my super research videos as usual. As much as I'm not a fan of the Kardashians or the Jenners, they in a way kind of made it normal to look the way that they did with the curvier body type. I mean, it kind of made me a little happy to see more representation, especially because even at my smallest, I'm bottom heavy. I know that their bodies were allegedly, I have to be careful here, achieved through surgery. However, some of us do tend to naturally have a either curvier body shape, or in my case, are always bottom heavy. So it was nice to see someone who didn't have a thigh gap at a time where thigh gaps were super duper in. And I'm not saying that having a thigh gap was something that was super terrible, as long as you're not starving yourself to have one. But I, along with others, will never achieve that look without making myself actually ill. That's why I was saying it was nice to see something different, something curvier and fuller. The issue that I did and still continue to have is they would deny the plastic surgery and then put out those really awful workout videos. I think we all know what I'm talking about here. I'm sorry, but this is the time of the internet where anyone and everyone can type into Google to see what you looked like before. This is to obviously the Kardashians and the Jenners. Although I know Kylie was a bit controversial a few years ago when she was upset over how much people had commented about her body. Now, I know some might say, well, she has the money to change and fix whatever she wants to do, and boo-hoo to someone who has money, but that's actually part of the problem. Society determining what is the current beauty standard, and then so many trying to achieve it, and either having body insecurities going into it or developing them over time. People have always had something to say about Kylie's looks, even as a child, as a minor. Let's put that in there. So from a young age, she's had to deal with whatever insecurities she has. Then when she fixes the issues that people have, now it's too much. So when she dissolves some filler, all of a sudden, that's an issue too. Now, I will say that when it came to her marketing her lip kits and saying that that's how she was getting allegedly the fuller lips and things of that nature, that I do have a problem with because in my opinion that is false advertising. However, I don't know Kylie Jenner obviously, but just from watching her over the years and just seeing how she's changed, it's never good enough for anybody. Whenever I see a picture of Kylie, of course I see a lot of comments, but I also see a lot of negative things like, oh, she looked better before or whatever. Or it's the opposite side where it says, oh, she looked terrible before and now she's really pretty, blah, blah, blah. So it's never enough for anybody, and someone is always going to have something to say. And on the other hand, before anyone says, well, she has money, she's rich, so why does she care what people think? But put yourself in her shoes. Her whole life has been put on display from a young age, a minor. She most likely didn't really have a say in this. She's been talked about both negatively and positively for years. Some will argue, well, they are the reason why people started getting more surgery to look like them. They set the beauty standard. And while that is true, it doesn't mean that maybe all of that surgery didn't come from some kind of insecurity. I mean, how in the hell did I once think that Khloe was the fat sister? I truly believed that she was obese at one point. Looking back on it now, I can't even believe that I ever thought that. Talking about Ozempic or really any weight loss medication can be a touchy subject. Just know that during this portion, when I use the name Ozempic, I'm referring to medication that's similar to it as well, but I'm just making it easier for myself when talking about it. Anyway, as I said, this can be a very touchy subject. I will say that probably about sometime last year, I was one of those people thinking that taking this drug was the easy way out. This was until friends of mine started using it and seeing really great results. Hello, Editing Monica here again. So I've been, this entire video, I've been adding things, I've been thinking of more things that I want to talk about. I'm sorry if you can hear the rain, but unfortunately it's, yeah, we have a big storm outside and it happened as soon as I hit record, so I'm so sorry. But in this portion, I wanted to talk about the difference between, or maybe not the difference, but I wanted to bring two posts to light. One is someone who thinks that Ozempic is the easy way out, and then the other one is someone that all of you guys who are watching me, well, maybe not all of you, but some of you who are watching me and have been following me from my anti-multi-level marketing days, you might know who that person is. So we're going to go over this person who says Ozempic is the easy way out, and then the other one is going to be someone who has taken weight loss medication and has done very well and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start off with the easy way out person. And I did look at her profile because a lot of her posts were starting to sound almost MLM-y to me. And like I just said a few minutes ago, if you've been here since my anti-MLM days, I mean, I used to make content about that all the time. And for some reason, I went through her whole profile. I went through all of her links and stuff. I can't find if it is an MLM, but she sounds like it just sounds very MLM-y. But anyway, okay. So the first picture is, yes, Ozempic is the easy way out. So let's go ahead and scroll. The first one says, no judgment, just facts. I'm all for women doing whatever makes them happy. Your body, your choice, your pace. I can agree with, it's your body. You do whatever you want. I know that I've had some opinions throughout this video, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't care what I have to say if you're one of the people that I'm talking about, because, it's your body. So who the F cares what I think? But then it says, but yeah, Ozempic blunts hunger. Without hunger and cravings, losing weight is 10,000 times easier. And you know what? Before we go to the next slide, while Ozempic and other weight loss drugs can curb your appetite and stuff, what I've come to learn so far is, and this was also myself included before when I'd said the same thing, like Ozempic's the easy way out. A lot of these people that I also know in my personal life have gone on to, as soon as they lose certain weight, they have more energy. They start being able to work out more. They start being able to do better when it comes to healthy eating. They talk to doctors, and it just kind of starts the process for them, if that makes sense. And I am so sorry. This rain is probably so distracting. But not only that, there are side effects to also using Ozempic and other weight loss drugs, because I have looked into it. I have talked to friends and family and stuff, and there are side effects. So the next slide says, easy doesn't mean sustainable. I will agree with that, but what you're failing to look into, I guess, is that a lot of the people who have started this weight loss drug, they have started making healthier choices. This was just like a little jump start to help them, because as someone who has a hard time when I don't see results and I'm working really hard for those results, yeah, I can definitely understand why some people would be like, okay, well, I'm not seeing results and I'm working my ass off. Why am I doing this? Anyway, let's keep going. It doesn't mean healed, and it definitely doesn't mean it definitely doesn't mean you suddenly feel confident in your skin. Sorry, words are hard. Because here's that these quick fix weight loss tools won't give you. That's a typo. That's why I was like, what does it say? Because here's what these quick fix weight loss tools won't give you. A better relationship with food, metabolic safety, muscle tone and shape, trust in your hunger cues, the ability to maintain your weight eating 2,000 plus calories. I don't know if this person is a licensed nutritionist or dietitian. If you are looking for someone like that on YouTube, Kat Benson from Unlock Nutrition is a great channel to go to. This portion of it where it says a better relationship with food, again, you're failing to realize that a lot of the people who are doing this weight loss drug are also doing the things that you're saying that they're not going to get from it. The weight loss drug itself might not do these things, but the weight loss drug kickstarts everything. So the person sees results and then they're like, okay, I can do this. I can lose weight. I can tone up. I can go to the gym. Okay, next slide. You can lose weight without ever learning how to lead your body, but it won't stick and it won't feel like you when you get there. I lost 30 plus pounds. I've kept it off for 20 years. Girl, respectfully, 30 plus pounds, which I looked at her profile. Some of her posts say 35 pounds. That is maybe a lot to you, but for a lot of the people that have done Ozempic or weight loss drugs, that is not a lot to them, because they need to lose 60 plus pounds, 100 plus pounds, maybe even in some cases 150, 200 pounds. So this portion of the post seemed very condescending, because while 30 pounds to somebody might be a lot, 30 pounds to me would get me to my first goal that I want to hit. This portion of it, it felt kind of condescending, because it's like, have you looked at the people who are doing Ozempic or other weight loss drugs? Have you looked and seeing that, I mean, unless if she's not seeing these posts, but I'm seeing the posts of the people who have lost 100 pounds or even 60 pounds or 100 pounds or more than that. But yeah, so this part of the post, I don't know, it felt, maybe it's just me too. I mean, maybe I'm just sensitive or something because of my own insecurities. I don't know. But then it says, and I eat like a woman who actually wants to live in her body, not escape it. That's what I teach. That's permanent body transformation. Yeah, you can kind of teach that, but for some people, these problems or these issues, these insecurities run deeper than just, oh, I just want to lose 30 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, it runs deeper than that. I'll talk about it from my perspective. I would like to lose the weight that I gained during pregnancy. I would be happy with not losing all of it, but at least some of it. From someone who has been there, done that with yo-yo dieting and all of that and damaged my metabolism, trust me, I get it. It's rough and you're always looking for something that'll help. You could teach that to an extent. But if the issues and the insecurities lie further than just saying, I want to lose 30 pounds, you can't really help with that. You can't help these people have that be, I guess you could say, like a sustainable health journey, weight loss journey, whatever you want to call it. There are people who have eating disorders. Can you help that? Because that's something that I don't think you can help with. That's something that people need serious help for. So I don't know. I found that post kind of condescending. So you're here bashing people who use Ozempic, who are losing a lot of weight and are getting their lives back and are basically a completely different person when they're done. You're bashing them all for 30 pounds. And how you've been able to keep it off and maintain it for 20 years. In addition to all of that, this person who's trying to teach people how to live healthy, wouldn't you think that them using something to help them on their weight loss or their health journey, wouldn't you be happy for them that they're not just sitting back and not doing anything? Shouldn't you be happy that they chose to take the step to take something that does have side effects and to take something to better themselves too? I've seen so many moms say it, that they just want more energy to be able to run around with their children. So wouldn't you be happy for them? But the next post that I wanted to go over is that of, some of you may know this person, and it's the Sam D on Instagram. I'll leave a link to her Instagram and her YouTube channel. She creates multi-level marketing content. I don't really do that anymore. I'll sometimes bring it up in conversation, but I don't really make that content anymore. So if you guys are looking for somebody, I will leave her in the comment section below. I came across her post a few months ago where she spoke about, I'm going to put it up on the screen, but she spoke about her journey, and you can see her pictures, you can see her just completely change. Let's go ahead and read what she had to say, because I think it was great to go from one side of the spectrum to the other side and kind of give you, I guess, a glimpse of both types of people, the people who have used it and have had really great results with it, and then the people who were like myself at one point that said it's the easy way out, but I kind of changed. I changed my tune, and I think it's great. I've seen so many people that in my personal life that have had really great results. So anyway, okay, let's get into this post. This is a potentially petty shout out to all of those that have been so incredibly vocal on the socials about a certain medication and have not had to experience what I'm about to lay out for you, because quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of being shamed. So I know there must be others out there in the same boat with me. I can say it doesn't bother me until I am blue in the face, but the truth is, when I see people I consider friends or even family shaming others for utilizing medications for weight loss, it makes me want to throw shit. Yes, I use semaglutide to help me lose weight and repair my relationship with food because I was pre-diabetic. Many people that utilize these medications are. Guess what happens when you don't do something to lose weight and get healthy at one point? Full-blown type 2 diabetes. Furthermore, guess what the fuck happens when you end up with full-blown type 2 diabetes? You guessed it. Now you'll have no choice but to get on a medication that may contain semaglutide like Ozempic. But wait, there's more. At some point, you'll likely need to do things like poke your finger at every mealtime until, of course, your fingers that you use get full of calluses and you have to resort to poking your palm instead to check your blood sugar on a little handheld machine called a blood glucose monitor. You've probably heard of it since you're so familiar with how the endocrine system works, right? I've seen this all happen firsthand and more than once. Figured I'd clue you in since you really have no idea what you're talking about, and continued in the comments. So let's go into the comments. So if you have such a pride-filled ego that you have to make entire posts about how you think it's lazy or unsustainable or any fucking thing else, then go to the gym and eat better. I think you need to take a trip to your bathroom and check that mirror real quick, because in no world should it bother you that much, especially if you're not a diabetic and you're complaining about a shortage. What the fuck? So my sincerest apologies if me getting more comfortable in my own skin or anyone else getting comfortable in their skin has made you uncomfortable in yours, but respectfully, fuck all the way off, mind your own health. I'm just gonna say, this is the attitude that I'm here for in 2025. This is it. I'm here for it. Photo of me in the white is from 2022 at my heaviest. In the green, 6 months into treatment, and the gray hoodie is today, a full 5 months after treatment. Maintaining the fuck out of my weight loss because, shocker, it does actually work as a preventative measure for type 2 diabetes, in my experience at least. So kiss my Ozempic ass, baby. I probably didn't read that with the proper spiciness because Sam was very spicy in this one. And again, that's the attitude I'm here for in 2025. But anyway, that kind of points out the other side of the spectrum. And as someone who has had family members who have been pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetes, type 1 diabetes, and all of that, knowing what goes into everything and seeing them prick their fingers, seeing them with the glucose monitor, seeing them with the, oh my gosh, what is it called? The thing on the arm. Oh, I can't forget. It's on the tip of my tongue. You guys know what I mean. Seeing all of these things and understanding how horrible diabetes can be and how it can destroy your body. Being mad at somebody, and this is just talking about this, one example. If you are so bothered by somebody trying to prevent themselves from, and I'm sorry if you can hear my daughter right now, but her and my husband are playing and it's really funny. I can hear her from the opposite side of the house. But anyway, if you are so bothered that someone is using a preventative weight loss drug so that they don't have to chop their feet off, for example, or that they don't lose limbs because of diabetes or whatever. And these are worst case scenarios. These are bad. Or doesn't lose their life. As Sam said, you can fuck right off if you're going to be so bothered by somebody trying to better their health. In this situation, when it comes to the Ozempic conversation, I'm definitely on the side of Sam. I used to be on the other side. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've looked into it. Maybe it's because I have friends and family that have firsthand experience, but I'm all for it. And at the end of the day, it's none of my damn business what somebody does or what somebody chooses to do when it comes to weight loss or how they do it. I mean, as long as they're not hurting themselves or hurting others, or as long as they're not starving themselves, because that's not good either. But as long as they're not starving themselves, as long as they're taking care of their bodies and everything, who cares? I mean, even if they're not taking care of their bodies, it's also none of our damn business. Okay, let's get back to the video. Bye! I know that I have heard some people saying that because of this medication and because so many people are using it, becoming really thin, and some people looking kind of unhealthy, that this would bring back the bodies of the 2000s that I spoke about a little bit earlier in this video. And I will say that I can see that concern as well. And there will be those who take it to an extreme, and that's really with anything that's out there. but I do think Ozempic and medications of the like are useful and helpful and aren't the easy way out. You may disagree with me, and that's fine, but from someone who has struggled with my weight and yo-yo dieting my entire life, I think this could be a great thing for a lot of people out there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the body positivity group. Now, while I do think body positivity is needed and was started with good intentions, I see a lot of negativity towards thin people. People who work out or people who just want to live a healthy lifestyle by the way they eat and the way that they move their body. Whenever I see someone being called fat phobic for wanting to lose weight or work out at the gym, I'm just simply flabbergasted at that. You cannot preach body positivity but then turn around and shame someone for wanting to lose weight. That might be a hot take. I'm not too sure because I don't follow enough people who talk about body positivity to know if that's a hot take or not. But this is coming from someone who has experienced being many different sizes throughout my life, from having eating disorders to being at a healthy, maintainable size to, of course, being pregnant at one point, but that's a little different, but also having a postpartum body. I'm rambling a little bit, but from my own experience, I have noticed a shift in how I've been treated being bigger and the switch in engagement on social media when I'm bigger or smaller. If you can figure it out, I have more engagement when I'm of a smaller size. Usually when I get bigger is when my engagement goes down, but with that said, I will honestly say that, yeah, bigger people do get treated differently from my own experience, and the clothing selection is absolutely horrible. The only place I've been able to find decent clothes that are actually trendy was at Torrid. I want to say that about 90% of the clothing that I try on there, I buy because of how cute it is and it fits my body. I can sometimes find stuff on Amazon or even in Sam's Club, believe it or not, but it's only when they have my size, which can sometimes be difficult to find. Even after all of that and struggling to find clothes along with everything else having to do with being plus size, I still cannot agree with the body positivity movement if they are going to say that someone wanting to lose weight is fat phobic. I'm losing weight mostly so that I'm not so uncomfortable and so that I can have more mobility and energy to keep up with my child. Whenever I think of the extreme sides of this, I think of that one Virgie Tovar video where she talks about the cake-related fat phobic incident. Not everyone who wants a smaller piece of cake is doing it because of disordered eating or because they're trying to be superior. Some people may have serious medical issues who can't have a big slice of cake. Maybe they don't really like cake and are just trying to be polite. I mean, I love the icing on ice cream cake, but my husband hates it, so I always take it off for him. He just doesn't like the way that it tastes. It's just weird to me that someone not wanting to have a bigger slice of cake is so offensive to Virgie. Not to mention that there have been many obese influencers who have passed away. And I know that many people have their own opinions on Blair White, but I did see a clip circulating of her showing a bunch of obese influencers who have passed away. And honestly, it's just so sad to see that happen. With all of that said, my body and wanting to eat healthier, work out, or want to lose weight shouldn't be deemed as offensive or fat phobic. It's just wild that deciding to lose weight is fat phobic. I think there's a bit of a trend going on in this entire video, and it is never good enough for anybody. I know this video was a bit all over the place and more of a commentary piece than research ones like most of my recent videos, but I had an opinion and I wanted to share it. Beauty standards will be around forever and have been around forever. There will always be a hierarchy with how people look and they will be judged based on those looks. The only thing we can do is try and lead by example for our youth. Whether you're a parent or not, kids look up to people in their lives. And if we can instill healthy and positive body image and not go to the extreme on either side, I think that that's really all we can do is just teach them how to take care of their bodies. Your body is a temple, and make sure to be happy within your body. And I think that that's really all that we can do at this point. and just hopefully we can get to a place where people love their bodies. And yeah, so anyway, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. This is Monica reporting to you live from a highway. Bye.